Okay, sir, your name?
Brett Ligon, Ligon.
Tell me a little bit about this forum tonight, and you as the DA in Montgomery County, what you're doing, and how do you feel about it? I mean, you're telling people, parents, to check their kids' phones and all.
Absolutely. I'm always concerned about an abdication of a parent's responsibility to either law enforcement or to a school district. And to recap, what we have is a situation here in West Montgomery County where we had a kid who died from ingesting acid, LSD, or a synthetic version of it. And then even more recently, we had a situation on the campus over here in West Montgomery County in which two other teenagers ingested it. They self-identified, and the school sent them to the hospital. So obviously it raises the awareness that there is an issue of the synthetic LSD or the synthetic acids. And so the school district took a very proactive position and said, hey, we're going to have a round table. Now, obviously it's a round table of 1,000 people, but it's the first step. And part of it was to educate the parents over here what the school does, but the other portion was to try to make sure that the parents are reminded that they're the ultimate stakeholders. And so you can't abdicate your responsibility to the government to take care of your kids or you as a parent. I think that was apparent throughout today. As a parent, you're an investigator, and you're the primary caregiver, and you're the one that loves your kid more than anybody. And so a lot of it was common sense stuff. Know the password to your kid's cell phone. Look through the text messages. Be snoopy. Look at those types of deals. Look at their Facebook accounts. Look at their Instagram accounts. Look at the text messages going in and out. So what the school district did was try to not only assure the parents that they were on top of it, but also provide them with some very common sense tips to kind of get on top of this issue. And I think that tonight was a good start.
Okay, first of all, your name and position?
I'm Lieutenant Philip Cash, Montgomery County Sheriff's Department, Narcotics Division.
Tell me a little bit about this drug that has showed up around Montgomery here.
What we've seen is over the last few weeks there's been some incidents with a drug called N-BOMBE or 25I. It's a LSD stamp, but it's not really LSD. It's going to be another chemical that mimics the effects of LSD, but it also has some terrible side effects, seizures and high fevers and even death.
What have y'all been seeing? Just starting to come out quite a bit of this, or is it just?
Oh, we've started seeing this in Montgomery County in the last probably 18 months to 2 years. We're starting to see more and more. It started out with young adults. Now we're starting to see it more with the school-age kids, both in East Montgomery County, Central Montgomery County, and South Montgomery County.
Where are they getting these stamps at?
The stamps themselves, you can order online. They mimic cartoon characters. They're targeting marketing to the younger generation. Once they get the stamps, they can dilute the chemical itself and pour it or dip the stamps until they get the chemical inside the stamps.
What about cost? What's these stamps costing kids?
Between $3 and $7 a piece.
But just for an instant high?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. What is your name?
My name is Linda Porton.
H-O-R-T-O-N?
No, with a P. Porton.
Okay.
Linda Porton.
Tell me a little about, you used to teach here many years ago. Tell me what happened.
Well, I taught here for years, and I was a single mom for a while, and my daughter was a GT student, and she was a cheerleader at the junior high, and when she got to the high school, things fell apart. And I kind of fought the battle alone because we didn't make it a community effort. It was me against the bad guys, and I even had trouble with cooperation from other parents. They thought I was being too stiff, and I ended up, my daughter went to several drug rehabs and ended up taking her to a boarding school in Mexico where she stayed for 15 months. Graduated the program. She's successful today, has a lovely family, children, and she has told me, you saved my life. And she'd tell you that too. She doesn't like to talk about it much now because she's a little bit embarrassed, but it started when she was like in 8th grade. And the problem hadn't gone away, but at least now we're addressing it as a community. I really appreciate Dr. Reese, and I appreciate the DA coming out and saying parents are responsible as much as the school to find out what's going on in your home.
Thanks. All right, first of all, what's your name?
Sherry Kennedy.
Sherry, what did you think tonight's meeting?
I thought it was great. It just eases parents' minds to know that the school is being proactive on everything and not waiting until something's happened and then trying to backtrack and find out what's going on. I think it was great that they really emphasized that parents are the most important part of this process. The parents need to be paying attention and keeping an eye on what their kids are doing. We can't leave it up to the school to raise our kids. We can't leave it up to the police. It all comes down to the parents first. But the fact that the parents and the school district and law enforcement are all working together, I think that it's going to make it very smooth.
Okay. Your name one more time?
Sherry Kennedy.
With a S?
Yes.
S-H-E-R?
S-H-E-R-I. Yeah.
The coldest night of the year, right? You know, they say it takes a village to raise a child. And I've never been more prouder of raising my 3 daughters in this village than I am tonight with this turnout. We really appreciate everybody being here. 48 hours worth of notice to ask you to come out, and we wanted to speak with you about our concerns about recent drug trends in our school and our community, and really appreciate the support of you being here tonight and look forward to a very productive evening. The format for tonight is I'm going to welcome you, so I hope you feel welcomed, and we'll have Mr. Eaton, our high school principal, will be up and he'll speak to you. We also have Miss Angie Chapman, our junior high school principal, will be here. She's going to speak to you briefly as well. And our chief of police, Brandon Torres, will come up and review recent trends, give you information that we believe is vital for you to help raise your child and to help the school district as we all unite together to make this school district and our community a great place to raise kids. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Eaton.
Thank you, Dr. Reese. What a great night. Look at this crowd. Look around. This is awesome. We are so glad that you made your way to Montgomery High School this evening. I do want to talk about a few folks. It's going to be hard to see them, but our principals and counselors are here tonight. You may or may not want to give them a hand, but let's give them a hand. These are guys who work with your students each and every day in all aspects of education, and they do a fantastic job with your kiddos. Tonight I want to share with you what we are doing at the high school to promote and foster a safe and drug-free environment. As you know, when I say that, that's not easy. That's not easy in 2015, but I do want to share with you the things that we do. Your students' safety and security is of utmost importance to us. We want them to learn. You do too. We want them to do well on tests. We want them to be ready for college or the workplace. But we want them to do that in a very safe and secure environment. We educate our students, just like you do at home, about the ill effects of drug use. And here at the high school, we aggressively investigate every tip, report, and suspicion of drug use, and also the selling and distribution of drugs. Let me start by talking about some ways that we receive tips here at the high school campus. Believe it or not, most of our tips come from students, your kids, who truly want to have a safe and drug-free campus. When they give us those tips, you know, when the rubber meets the road, what does that look like? Your kids will share this information with their administrator, a teacher that they're close to, that they have a healthy relationship with, and in many cases, they'll share this with their extracurricular coach or sponsor. They in turn will share that with us. And then many of our kids share this information with you, their parents. And then their parents will call the school and inform us. On my paper, this is in caps. I want to make sure you understand this. Please know that we guarantee from our end your students' anonymity when they come forward. I'm going to say that again. Please know that from our end, we guarantee your students' anonymity when they come to us with this kind of information. We also receive information from staff members. What does that look like? They see suspicious activity around campus, something that's different to them, and they come to us. They share that information with us. In the classroom, they see a change in behavior or the demeanor in a child. They come to us. They may see a slip in grades. They'll come to us with that information. We receive information without kids being involved from parents and community members. Again, remember, every tip we go after aggressively and investigate thoroughly. We do receive anonymous tips. Sometimes it's as simple as a handwritten note left on a desk. It's anonymous callers, untraceable emails, and also letters that we receive. Some of the calls are through our helpline. The helpline posters are in the hallways and more prominently positioned on our website. They kind of look like this. It's not just for drugs, it's for other things that kids might face. Dating violence, those kinds of things, bullying. But of course, drugs are a part of this School Reach program, our helpline. The way we receive that information through the helpline is via email. So somebody calls the helpline and they leave an anonymous tip, we get that through our email. Tonight, throughout this building, we have law enforcement. I can't even tell you their different divisions or their departments, but they're all over this auditorium tonight. We receive information from them. We also receive information from business owners. And yes, we also receive information from other schools, mainly schools in our area. Dr. Reese talked about being proud that his students were a part of Montgomery. I want to kind of piggyback off of that and say this. We love each and every one of the students, the kids who attend this high school. We love them with the capacity that we have in our jobs. But please know this, each tip is aggressively and thoroughly investigated. Again, we search based on tips, and we also search based on observation. The searches are not physically invasive, and we follow district and legal protocols. Let me share with you tonight, over the past few years, some of the drug-related discipline assignments that we've had. Please know this also, that over the past 7 years, this high school has grown about 900 students. Next year we'll have 2,600. 6 years ago we had about 1,700. But anyway, with that being said, in 2012-13, 24 different cases were consequenced. In 13-14, 26. At this point in this school year, 14, and of course, many others were investigated. What are some of the ongoing preventative measures that we take? We have a full-time campus police officer, and usually more than one officer is on campus at all times. We share with police information about parties in our community. If we hear about a party that's going to take place on Saturday night, we share that with police. We share with them allegations of community members selling drugs, and we also share with them reports of private homes being used for distribution and drug use. Our school nurses are trained in assessment of students and their safety, and some identification of pills and drugs. Last year we were very thankful. Our PTO hosted a drug awareness meeting. Our district attorney, Brett Ligon, led that meeting along with Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Each fall, we have a UIL coaches and sponsors meeting where we discuss signs of drug use so that our coaches are always aware of signs to look for. Groups here on our campus that travel overnight go through random luggage checks. So for example, I hate to single out a group, but if our choir is going to New York, for example, prior to them leaving, they'll go through a luggage check to ensure that they don't have anything that they should not have with them. Just 2 weeks ago, we had class meetings with each of our classes, 9 through 12, to remind them of our policies, to remind them of drug laws, and the legal and social consequences of use, possession, and distribution of drugs. We have drug awareness posters throughout our hallways. Of course, we have Red Ribbon Week activities. Last year, Montgomery County Youth Services, we had a speaker from that group who spoke on dating violence and drug use. On our video announcements, we share the consequences of drug use and the benefits of a healthy lifestyle. Every few years, Shattered Lives comes to our campus. That is a marriage of all of our law enforcement agencies in Montgomery County. Funeral homes get involved in that. It is a great, great combined community effort. Our students always react well to Shattered Lives. We contract with Interquest, a canine drug detection agency. They come out and do periodic and random detections. As of this week, we are increasing the number of periodic and random visits to our campus, where in the past they have randomly searched vehicles and lockers, and they will now begin searching classrooms. In addition to these efforts, the week after spring break, we will have a national speaker present to all grades 7 through 12 on the benefits of a drug-free life. On April the 1st, our 9th graders will attend a presentation on the hazards of drugs and alcohol. These are some things that we're doing. These in and of themselves are not enough. And we're going to hear more about that this evening from Chief Torres. At this time, let me turn it over to our junior high principal, Ms. Angie Chapman. Thanks again.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for coming out tonight. I just want to continue off what Mr. Eaton has discussed and let you know that Montgomery Junior High is also taking proactive and similar measures to what our high school is doing, not only to increase the awareness of drug and alcohol in our schools, but to ensure we do everything to prevent it as well. We want to eliminate the problem that we have in our school district at this time. As you've been made aware, it has become evident to us that this year there's a new type of synthetic drug trend that surfaced in our district, along with many other forms of drugs we have found as we do our investigations. At Montgomery Junior High, this is generally reported to us through many different sources, mainly our students and our teachers, but several anonymous tips in our MISD hotline as well. At Montgomery Junior High, the number of drug-related discipline assignments in the past 3 years have been 11 in 2012-2013, 8 in 2013-2014, and 8 so far this year. But understand, we consistently undergoing investigations on tips that are reported to us often. I can tell you this, we do inform and educate our students at Montgomery Junior High in various ways throughout the year on preventative measures such as At the beginning of the school year, we have grade level presentations that our administrators present and discuss what our code of conduct states in reference to drugs and alcohol and the consequences that we enforce. We also have our officer present when we speak, so they understand the reality of what happens when our students are found possessing, selling, or distributing drugs on campus. Students are also made aware of the Anonymous Bear hotline that we offer so that they can report and make us aware of anything drug-related in our schools. These posters are made available all around the school and on our MISD website as well. We have an officer on our campus daily. We have drug dogs that do random drug checks on our campus. We have announcements that are made throughout the year reiterating our non-tolerance for drugs at our school. Our health classes and our principles of human service classes discuss drugs and alcohol, and they also bring speakers to speak with students concerning the awareness. Our campus officer spoke with student council this year about the different ways to say no to drugs. And for Red Ribbon Week, we have a drug play for all students performed by our theater department each year. Each year they reenact the truth and reality of the effects and dangers of drugs and alcohol. It's a very powerful play for these students. This year we also had drug enforcement agents speak with our students and show a video to all students concerning the drugs in the U.S. at this time. Any new student who enters throughout the year will read and sign an agreement concerning our code of conduct specifically to our drug and alcohol policy on our campus. So going forward as a campus, we're going to continue educating our staff of the new drug trends in our community and our schools. And in March, we have a nationally known speaker on drugs coming to speak to our students as well. So please know, we take this very serious and appreciate your support and partnership in our school. We want to make our school safe, and we need your help as well as parents. I hope you know that it is our goal to do everything we can to keep our students well and safe, and to ensure safe learning on our campus. At this time, I'll now turn it over to Officer Torres.
Wow. I want to thank you guys for coming out. My name is Brandon Torres, Chief of Police here from Montgomery ISD. I've been here going on 8 years, a little over 8 years now, and I watched this place grow. I watched families come through here. I truly rooted here. And when I get that phone call in the middle of the night about a life, losing one of our babies. I say our babies because we're raising them 8 to 9 hours out of the day. 8 to 9 hours out of the day, we're caring for them, we're feeding them, we're loving them like they're ours. And if we have to discipline them, we'll do that too. Tonight we call upon you guys to come together so we can unite the circle. Like Dr. Reese mentioned, it takes a village. We need your support. We need our parents to be involved. The communication shouldn't just be between administrators and law enforcement. Parents should be always in the loop. So tonight we're going to talk about a new trend that's coming about. It's a synthetic LSD. It's not LSD. That's why we're calling it synthetic LSD. It's a poison that people are passing out to our students, to our babies. So we want to give you guys some knowledge, some information to take home with you. So when you go do a sweep at home, or you're hearing your child speak to their friends, you have an idea of what to be looking for. I had somebody ask me if we had drugs in Montgomery, if we had a drug problem in Montgomery. We don't have a drug problem. Do we have drugs in Montgomery? Yes. And that's a problem. Anson Bear. These are characters that we're finding on this blotter paper where they're lacing it, not with LSD, but this 25I. It's a chemical that gives the effects of LSD, and some worse side effects that LSD doesn't offer. I think initially with peer pressure, they give it some of the positives, the color traces when they're at a party, color traces when you're moving and you see the lights, and sometimes you can relate to a movie where they're showing somebody high on some type of narcotics and they're seeing the lights, they're seeing the glamour, and they're happy. Their mood is enhanced. They're stimulated. You can touch them and they're feeling great. But with that peer pressure and that friend didn't tell them, it's what it feels like when you're coming off of it. The cold chills, confusion, being lost. These side effects can happen at any time. The side effects can happen that day or the next. The side effects can last up to 7 days after consuming this poison. I hate trying to follow the drug. You hear a lot of people say a synthetic drug. It's a poison that's going out to our kids. And we're ready to do whatever it takes to stop it. So we got to knock on your door. Come visit you. Chase down the friends. We're going to do whatever it takes. Ma'am, you had a question?
Can you go back to the first screening trial?
Absolutely. Can we back that up, please? And as we go on, I want this to be a conversation. I know it's a lot of people here, but this is a round table. This is the same thing when you call your aunts and uncles when you're dealing with a family problem and we're all sitting around the table. This is what we're doing right now. This is our round table. So please, in a minute, we're going to open up the mic. Do not hesitate to ask questions. We have several different agencies here. We have the DA's office, the City of Montgomery, the Sheriff's office. We all work as one unit. And then our parents, and then our staff. Get out your way, excuse me. Another challenge we're facing is what the street call as Molly. We got people out there taking prescription pills, Oxycontin, hydrocodone, and even ADHD medicine, crushing it up to get the same effects as if you was getting a Red Bull and vodka. These are more appealing to the youth because you can't smell it. You ever had your child often give them something to drink and they smell like, oh no, mom, it stinks. Well, they're finding something else to get that same effect as alcohol. Go back one. If you look closely, these are clear capsules that you can find. You can find in any supplement store, vitamin shops. And what they're doing, they're stealing prescriptions from family members, taking their own prescription. Or maybe it's that person that you just kind of had your hair standing up in the back of your neck who was visiting your home. And the day you weren't there, or the day that the friend went to the restroom, he decided to go and take him a stash. 5 here, 5 there. But that's how they're getting a hold to it. And also breaking into homes. This is an example of some of the tabs, what they call a SpongeBob, that's on blotted paper. Again, we don't know if this has been dipped once, dipped twice. I may be able to consume it. I'm 300 pounds. And I get a little high off of it. It was great. And then I tell somebody else who saw me take it, not thinking, all he knows that he trusts me. We've been friends since middle school. He took it, and he looked like he really had a good time. And then my friend that's 200 pounds take it, and now his heart racing. He's going into cardiac arrest. He's beginning having seizures. And then it goes away and think, oh man, I won't take that again. but it hasn't passed yet. So then 2 days later, he falls out in the hallway, and he's having seizures, and we have no clue of what's going on. Mom and Dad says he has no history of drug usage. We drug test him. 25I is not going to show up in the urinalysis. What can we do? Next slide. The dancing bear. This is the second one we've been experiencing. People use certain type of blotter paper to mark their territory. In Montgomery, it's a dancing bear and it's SpongeBob. In Conroe, it may be fruit. I've heard about the couples on the blotter paper, they call them the Romeo and Juliet. These are certain key terms to be listening for when you hear certain conversations. There is no privacy in that home. If you're a child under my roof, this is my space too. There should be not one child in school that says, Mom, respect my space. Dad, respect my space. I need some privacy. When you start paying bills, when you have your own place, that's when you can privacy. You know, we are battling this from the inside. We're asking you guys to battle it from the outside in. And we want to meet. And that's why we're here today. Because we know that with the information you're getting, you can farm it to us. With the information we're getting, we can farm it to you. If we suspect your child of something, you're going to get a phone call from the administrator. They're going to notify you. Don't be offended. That's a team player. Because we want to see them finish. I shed tears every graduation for that child that walks across the stage. Because I got babies coming through this system too. I have 2 of them. Yes, ma'am.
The administration is suspicious of a child or a child has gotten searched. What is NYSD's policy on notifying the parent?
Hold that question. That's a great question. We'll have administrators get to a mic so that everybody can hear it.
Can you repeat the names of the drugs, the dancing bear and all
The
that?
dancing bear and SpongeBob are the 2 popular ones in the Montgomery area.
What about the skulls?
Skulls. We've seen the dead skulls with the bones on them. That's another stamp mark. That's a trend that individuals are using to mark their territory. We haven't really experienced that with the blotter paper. We've experienced it with marijuana. It's died down tremendously. I can tell you that we had an increase of marijuana usage about 6 years ago, and we did this. We hammered it. We started listening to our parents. We started asking for intel, and we continued to chase the tail of the snake till we got to the head, and we were able to cut it off. And now we got a new trend, and this is the life cycle of any type of substance. It gets popular, it takes off like wildfire. We just have to continue to adapt.
What about liquid marijuana?
Liquid marijuana, dabs. There are different forms. If you have a child that uses e-cigarettes, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand because I know. There's a lot of students that, hey, I'd rather smoke that than this. It's a gateway. Because now with the design of liquid marijuana, so now we can put that inside an e-cigarette and you don't smell it. Because there's no marijuana burning. It's vaporized. So they're able to smoke and get the same high. Just because it's being sold in other states doesn't mean it's not making it to Texas. One of the things we do here, if we catch a student with it, we're testing everything. We test everything we come in contact with. Again, we want to educate you guys to know what's trending now. If they got the e-cigarettes, the vapors, get rid of them. Get rid of it. If you know friends that got them, don't allow them to bring it over. Because all it takes is that comfort, that one moment of time, to say, hey, try this. And heaven forbid, it's something laced. I used to work down in Harris County, and we arrested a guy that told me to make his marijuana stronger, he sprayed roach spray on it. To this day, it gives me goosebumps. To know what people are doing to try to get your child, your baby hooked on something so that you can be a guaranteed customer. It's so much that's going on, and we're going to continue to have these open forums, these conversations, these talks, because we have to keep that circle. So in a minute, we're going to open up the mics because I know there's a lot of questions, and we want to get to all of them. And if for some reason is there a question we just cannot answer, I promise you we'll get the answer. And if you leave your contact information, we'll get it to you. Again, this is about coming together. It's not pointing fingers, because I can assure you, if this district was doing something that wasn't supporting protecting your child, protecting that child's future, I would be the first one to speak up. Our goal, again, to empower everyone, including our parents, to know they can call us at any given time, and we're going to take that call or return that message. Because our goal is to unite the circle. Thank you.
All right, this time we're going to take questions. If you'll see, there are 4 microphones, 2 in the front and 2 in the middle. And I know some people have different questions. If you would come up to the mic. We'd also like to invite people from different offices. I know we have the DA's office. We have the City of Montgomery Police. I know there are other law enforcement that are represented. So if there are questions that are not specific to the school or perhaps other things going on in the area, we'd be able to answer those as well. So if you would, if you have questions, please come on up. And I'd invite Mr. Eaton as well as Ms. Chapman to come up. And of course we have Chief here. So yes, ma'am.
My name is Andrea Farenthal, and I have a son at Montgomery High School. I'm also the administrator page that you may be familiar with called My Montgomery. My question this evening, actually I have several. Shall I proceed? Okay, thank you. I'll go ahead and start over. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Andrea Farenthal, and I have a son at Montgomery High School. I'm also the administrator of a Facebook page called My Montgomery Page. One of the questions that I have this evening is, I would like to ask the administration with respect to Montgomery City Police, what strategic moves are in place, if any, to incorporate the city police with any action that may be taken in the event of any drug?
I want to make sure I understand the question. Are you asking what's the support from law enforcement?
That's correct. And the reason for my question, ladies and gentlemen, has to do with the fact that last week, it's my understanding, there was a drug overdose. And I think that's why many of us are here this evening, because there is a drug overdose of 2 students at Montgomery High School.
I'd like to address that. So there's a 2-part question. One, I want to address the drug overdose. And let me clarify that there was not a drug overdose here in Montgomery. There was not a drug overdose.
Yes, sir, there was.
I personally made that scene. There were 2 students who admitted consuming 25I. For precaution and for that child's safety, we called EMS and we had them transported to the hospital.
There were 2.
Yes, ma'am. 2 students that was transported to the hospital to be evaluated. Because again, this poison, we have no clue what effects it's going to have on that child. And heaven forbid, we leave that child in school and they fall out with a seizure or go into cardiac arrest. So for the safety of that student, those students, they were both transported to the hospital.
Yes, sir, that is correct. But it's my understanding from an individual who was also in the city hall in the city of Montgomery at that time that there were numerous calls made to the city of Montgomery with respect to what was going on here. And the city of Montgomery, the police department sent people over here. And it was my understanding from a very reliable source that the, excuse me, the campus police was not happy that the city of Montgomery Police Department was here.
Ma'am, your source is wrong, and you're wrong. We work very diligently. We work very diligently with the city. We communicate our actions on our campus. We work along with the city. We share information with the city, either via email, text, or in person. During that time, the city came over to assist us because we had a lot of calls that day. We had several medical calls that went out that day. So they came out to give us support. Again, we are united in this district with our city and with our county.
All right. Thank you very much. Are there any, is this incorrect? Is the information that I was given, is that incorrect?
The information you were given is not the complete truth. We were here to assist the MISD Police Department in any possible way that we could. We did show our face here to help with assistance, and we gathered some information and then we left the scene.
Thank you very much. And I stand to be corrected. My police, who is also here to support our campus police in any way they can. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chief.
Try to be as proactive as possible. I know sometimes, especially with the drug problem, it can carry on into the homes. So my question is there any type of program where the schools are involved to be able to go into the homes if you suspect your child has a problem? In other words, what I'm saying is, you know, the kids, if they have drugs, they obviously will probably have it at home. And is there a way that we can be more proactive in knowing or besides searching the room, is what I'm asking, I guess.
Definitely. If you suspect your child is using drugs or you have concerns, please contact the school. You can talk to the counselors, the principals, even the child's teacher if you have that relationship with them. And then we have a series of action plans that we put in place to provide that support. If it involves issues that need to bring law enforcement about, then we can do that. And they also have a number of resources outside of just the mainstream things we do in the school to try to help in that situation. But we want to partner with you. We want to be part of the solution. So anything we can do to help any of our kids that are having issues, we want to be there.
Hi, my name. My question is regarding synthetic marijuana. And I've heard a lot about this. I've had a child that's already graduated from here. I know there's a lot of smoke shops in the area, and my understanding is this is synthetic marijuana is laced with chemicals, but it's sold under the name of Kush and Potpourri, and I don't know a whole lot about it. I just understand that it's easily accessible, that they can buy it in these smoke shops or these gas stations, and that's how they get around it, is because they name it Potpourri and whatever. I don't know all the names, but that's who I'm familiar with.
Feel free anytime, law enforcement, if you want to chime in and elaborate on some of this.
So you're not familiar with this?
No, I know exactly what you're speaking
of.
What she's speaking of is when you walk into some of these convenience stores and you see this stuff that's called Kush, hash, usually behind the counter. It's what they call an incense. They're passing it off as a synthetic marijuana. It's not marijuana. And there's certain chemicals in it that may be found illegal. When we run across it, we send it off to DPS crime labs to get it evaluated and tested for certain agents that's inside of the synthetic marijuana. I don't know it off the top of my head exactly what chemicals they're looking for,
But as we continue on and we bust certain convenience stores and we enforce the synthetic marijuana, the chemicals change. They're constantly evolving. And I see a guy who...
Good evening, everybody. My name is Brett Ligon, law enforcement side, but more importantly, I'm a parent of 2 kids who go to Montgomery, one in high school and one on the 4th grade campus. So the issues that are affecting all of y'all are having the same impact as in my house. Unfortunately, on the professional side, we became aware of the fatality 2 weeks ago, and my office became aware of the incident from Friday. And so, to address your specific question, one of the issues with the synthetic marijuana, the bath salts, the kush is, because they're synthetic, they are chemically derived to avoid legal prosecution. And so what's happening, for example, Chief Torres spoke about I-25. Now one of the issues that we're dealing with, is it truly I-25 or now is it I-24? Because what they're doing is removing molecules to keep them ahead of the legislature. One of the issues that we're having is charging them appropriately or criminalizing them. And so when the legislature created the penalty provisions dealing with the synthetics, they did so under a way in which you're thinking that it's a static drug. And so what the drug dealers are doing is they're changing the chemical compounds. The issues that we're having in law enforcement, and Brandon said it, and I don't know how many of y'all actually caught what he was saying. The synthetics are not showing up on a drug panel or a drug screen. And so a typical drug screen for employment purposes or for criminal purposes is either a panel of 6 drugs or a panel of 8 drugs, barbiturates, opiates, cannabinoids, those type of deals. The synthetics don't show up unless you know what to look for. And so, for example, Brandon is testing on a presumptive test, and some of the synthetics don't show up. So law enforcement, through the legislature, is trying to catch up to that. You know, you asked for practical tips, and I had a long conversation with Mr. Eaton today. You could almost remove law enforcement from this equation, and you could remove administrators, and you could remove teachers, and I will tell you, it's going to boil down to one essential factor, and it's the parents. I'm not sending my kid to school here expecting Mr. Eaton to detect whether or not he's on drugs. As a parent, I'm primarily responsible. And so if you really want a practical tip, and I told Mr. Eaton I was a little concerned if somebody asked me a direct question, I'd give you a direct response. Because I wasn't going to put up with a whole bunch of, oh, not my child. Because yes, our children, they're all the same. But these steps, if you really, when we look for law enforcement to crack a case, we look for solvability factors. So on a Berg hab, I'm looking to see if there's fingerprints, or I'm looking to see if there's force entry, right? So you know what I'm talking about when it comes to factors that you'd look at. So I'm going to tell you right now tonight, we can crack this case by your participation, and we can be done tonight if you really care. And here's how you do it. You go home, you grab your kid's phone, and you say, "What's your password?" And you think I'm kidding. But you look at the password. Once you get the password, then you look at the texts. When you get those texts, I am not trying to make any parent's kid into a criminal. What I want is the information. I want the dealer. Because I'm going to separate the dealer from this community. And I'm going to do it in the harshest way I can. It's not an election year for me. I'm not up here tonight. It's not about that. But I promise you, if you want to send your kid into a meltdown, get his phone, her phone, tonight, the moment you get home. Get the password, look through the text messages. When they're starting to say code words, the dancing bear, SpongeBob, Kush, and you'll see the phraseology. If you're concerned that your kid is a target of it, be more concerned that he's a target of the drug peddler. So, but if you want it to remain anonymous, fine. Contact Brandon. Contact the helpline. There are more people here that work drug enforcement in this county. There are 6 that I recognize that are here tonight. And we're all here to help, and nobody's here to prosecute a child for doing something stupid. We're here to separate the criminal element from our kids. And I need y'all's help. And the answers are here tonight. So the first thing, get the passwords, look at the text messages. And secondly, and Brandon said it best, it's my house and it's my space. These are great pictures. Look for tinfoil, small pieces of tinfoil that they carry them in. Look for very small Viscaline or very small plastic packets that you would see small fish hooks in. Look for the blotter pages that are stamps. You've got to go through their wallets. You have to go through their purses. And you have to see them because up here they're large photos. In reality, we're talking a stamp is going to be the size of my fingernail. The going rate, $130 for 30 tabs. 130 for 30. You can't get 120 Mount Olympia for 130 bucks. So it is a very cheap drug, and it's not USDA approved. You don't know the value. You don't know the chemical compound and the weight that they have. And one of the issues we're having is so many kids are on attention deficit disorder pills, which is a euphoric, which is an amphetamine or a stimulant. Well, the problem with the cross-contamination with a lot of these synthetics is that's where you're getting the racing heart. And so there are fatalities all across the United States, sometimes from the first use or on cumulative use. And what you're seeing is, it is literally hitting, like I was trying to explain to Mr. Eaton, it's like hitting the reset button on a computer. You hit it, and it stops you from breathing. So they're not going into the euphoric state or the hallucinogen state, they're going into the state of cardiac arrest, and chest compressions are trying to be done on a body that's not receiving electrical stimulation from the brain. And that's why you're getting the collapse. And so it's a very real danger. Now, we are doing things within law enforcement, and Mr. Fairenthold, you couldn't make me tell you what we're doing, but I will tell you, within local law enforcement, there is communication in general, and there's communication specifically. I thought the 2 gentlemen handled the question well without giving in too many details, because this is not for me to kind of go into what's going on behind the scenes. It's just to give you some practical tips how to help us crack the case. Any other questions? And it doesn't have to be me, it can be Angie or Mr. Eaton.
Just out of curiosity, what the actual pipes that the kids are they allowed to carry the pipes with them around class? They're trying to stop smoking, I guess, is what's being told. The e-cigarettes, are they allowed to have those on campus?
Are you saying are the kids allowed to carry vapors?
Yes.
No. The answer is no. But to elaborate more about policy.
So is e-cigarettes and, are they the same? Vapors and e-cigarettes are the same thing?
In our student code of conduct, we've changed the policy starting this year that considers vapors just like tobacco use, and so it's dealt with accordingly, and they're prohibited from being in the schools at all.
Okay, that's what I was just saying. Thank you.
Which is basically a slap in the hand. It's not even a felony.
Delivery to a child is a 2nd-degree felony, so it's a 2 to 20. Obviously, there's some creative things that you can do. If it results in a fatality, there's a possibility of charging them with a negligent homicide as a party. And so there's some other creative ways to bump it up from a misdemeanor, but anything that goes on a school campus is always going to be an enhancement. And so when you're talking about one crime, if it happens on a campus or it happens to a child, then you're looking at a higher crime. So second degree felony, it's a 2 to 20.
Okay, thank you.
Kids know who these drug dealers are, who they're getting the drugs from. How do we get the kids to rat out the other kids, for lack of a better word?
That's a great question and an even better statement. We want our kids to take back their school. And we provide many opportunities for them to come forward. Again, I know they talked about the hotlines, but they can even scan the hotline, they can text or email anything, and it comes to us anonymously. It's all confidential. And they can talk to their teacher can bring it forward to administration, they can talk to anyone at this campus, from our great custodians, a coach, anybody, and we take that seriously. Every incident is investigated, and we, as you can see tonight, is a united front with law enforcement as well as with the school administration, and we want to get this stuff out of our schools and get back to the business of educating your children. Yes, ma'am.
You had mentioned that every lead that you have is investigated and children are searched. Can you tell me the policy about when a child is searched, whether the parents are notified?
Yes, we notify the parents. If it is an issue dealing with law enforcement, the law enforcement can request that the parent not be contacted, and we have a form that's signed off and filled out for that. But their person, certainly we want to make sure the parents are contacted when their vehicle is on school grounds or that school locker and those type of things. Those the locker is obviously school property. And so we can search that whether or not we contact a parent. But we want to be on the same page with parents, and we want to be part of the solution. So
there is a time that that law enforcement would request them not to contact parents?
They can, yes ma'am.
So if a child was searched more than one time or multiple times and the parents weren't notified?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
No, I didn't know if that was like...
That's not standard procedure, no.
Okay, I was just checking. Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, I was here at the PTO, I'm right here, I'm a little short. Sorry. I was here at the PTO meeting that our wonderful PTO President Teresa Neal got together with DA Ligon and some other representatives. And I know I see on the table back here the containers that can be used to hide the drugs that look like normal water bottles or Monster drinks. I didn't know if y'all could address that in front of the group instead of them having to go to the table. But I also have a question. I was just kind of pointing that out because I knew that was information that I had not known until that meeting. And we would have loved to see all of y'all here at that meeting that day. But anyway, my question about the synthetic drugs that you said that they're staying ahead, one step ahead of the laws and trying to cut it where it's not illegal to produce. At what point or how does it become an illegal issue? Like, does it end up requiring a kid to unfortunately die from that intake? Or what makes that drug an illegal use drug?
Well, the legislature has to declare whether it's illegal. What the feds have done has given the DEA the ability to declare that something is a Schedule 1 or Schedule 2 drug. And so the DEA, as an agency on the federal side, is able to say, hey, for this period of time, we're declaring this a Schedule 1 or Schedule 2 controlled drug. The state legislature, though, we don't have a DEA state agency. In the legislative session, they became aware of this 2 years ago, and it's my understanding this legislative session, they're trying to broaden up the definition for these synthetics enough so that we can charge them. We can only charge what's illegal. Whether it's immoral or whether it's just wrong-headed does not belong under the law enforcement category. And so if it's not against the law, there's nothing that we can do about it. So that's one of the issues that we're having. For example, when you're dealing with synthetics. And so like I said, there are some creative charging decisions, and we're asking the legislature to make them retroactive as well. And so the legislative session only meets every 2 years. And so if there's a new drug on the scene and it hasn't been described with particularity, then it's not going to be illegal. And so they're always playing catch up, which is the nature of law enforcement. If you go back to the 30s, when the gangsters had machine guns and the cops had shotguns, and they were trying to catch up, and that's just the nature of it. But there are we have a fairly broad tool chest. All our tools look like sledgehammers. So it's a sledgehammer approach in law enforcement. If we can't get them with one thing, then you try to get them with another offense, for example, a negligent homicide, if your actions have directly resulted in it.
Hi, I've got a couple of questions. One, why can't we have our children to be checked when they walked into the school in the mornings?
That's a good question. And that makes them uncomfortable, but I will tell you, it should make them uncomfortable. What the law allows a school district to do is dramatically different than what school districts do. And there's a reason. Because there's a balance between what the law actually allows and the comfort level that as parents we would have. I don't want my child being searched every time he walks into the school. And so there is a balance that law enforcement within a school, for example, you heard Dr. Reese say there's no privacy rights. In law enforcement, you don't have to have probable cause to search a locker. It's an administrative search. So that falls way under the threshold of reasonable suspicion of probable cause. But they don't search lockers every day and all the time just because they want to. So usually you have to have some type of a reason because it's just a good public policy as well. And so they're balancing your kids' privacy interests, not necessarily privacy rights, but privacy interests, with still the fact that these are school teachers and they're principals. And their main thing is to get them educated, feed them, and send them home. And so when you're saying, can they search the kid when they walk in, I'm saying as a parent, perhaps you ought to be searching him before he leaves the house.
And that is true too. I mean, I'm right there with you.
Right, and they've got
but you got half of the junior and the seniors that are driving today, that when they leave our home, they go pick up Paul, Susie, Tommy down the street. They may have it in their pocket when they walk into the school, and none of these people in the school is going to know about it.
We talked about that same example just a little while ago. You know, the kid's clear when he leaves the house, and somewhere between leaving the house and getting on the campus, he takes a euphoric. And if you don't have a DRE or drug recognition expert on hand to actually look at the nystagmus in the eyes, or to look and see whether or not they're under a stimulant or a depressant, you're not going to know. And a lot of these euphorics, or a lot of the drugs that they're taking, and I was kind of half laughing. How do you tell the difference between one loopy kid who's under an influence and another loopy kid because he's a loopy kid? And so, there is a balance, and it's all over the county and it's all over the state. The schools are in a very tough position, and I still say, hey, even though I'm the law enforcement component and they're the school component, we've got to do a better job. Mr. Eaton had asked me about gateway drugs, about marijuana, and I'm not here to poo-poo marijuana. I'm not here to talk about Colorado. But most studies show that marijuana by itself is not a true gateway. With that said, what we are seeing are prescription meds. And when I said we've got solvability factors right here, that the synthetics that we're dealing with, they're grabbing your attention, but that's not the majority of the cases that are involving kids. The vast majority of cases that we're seeing are hydrocodone, OxyContin, and Xanax. And they're getting them from our medicine chests. And so if you really want another practical tip, other than getting your password, go to your medicine cabinet tonight. And I called my wife and I said, hey, we're gonna do the same. Go to your medicine cabinet tonight, the last time you went to the dentist, the last time you went to the doctor. Vicodin, pain reliever, it's a euphoric. It's odorless and tasteless. $10 a pill. That's what it goes for, between 10 and 20. Now, did you get 35 from the doctor because you got a month's supply, or did you get 14 because you got a 2-week supply? And did you take any? Because when I was in the hospital two years ago, I didn't take any of it, but I got a 30-day supply because I had a gallbladder removal. And it dawned on me, those pills are still in my medicine cabinet. And so, if you really want to help, everything they're doing is great. We can take this back tonight, because y'all can get us some tips. We can clean out our medicine chests, because the LSD and the synthetics are important, but they're not the majority of cases that we're dealing with kids. And I bet you across the county you'll see it's the prescription meds they're getting from our medicine cabinets.
The other question that I have is, are cameras turned on in the school?
Cameras in the school?
Are they on?
They are on.
My question is, if a parent or a student should give you a tip, perhaps come to the school, show you a Snapchat or a screenshot of something, can you tell us what the exact policy of the school is as far as what you're going to do with that tip from that moment on? Because I really firmly believe that if the parents and the students know that their tip is going to be taken seriously and actually followed through, and parents know what each step is, that you're going to have more people willing to come forward with names of people.
I think her question was about how we handle any kind of tip, if we got a screenshot, any kind of tip. I can't think of the other ones. And I'm going to say it again, we do take every tip seriously. If we got that, we had 3 tips today. They were checked out today. So if you send us a screenshot that includes some kind of information that some drug use is taking place, then we'll certainly check that out. That's a good question. Thank you.
But you didn't really answer my question.
I'm sorry?
Legally, what can you do? Let's say I send you a picture of a child who's got a pile of marijuana on their bed, and they're a student here. And I come to the school and I show you that, and I say, this is so-and-so from grade 10, and this is what she's posting every single night, a picture similar to this. I think a lot of parents want to know, legally, what do you do with that? I mean, you say you investigate it. Tell me more.
There are two things that we'll do. First of all, we'll get that student into an administrator's office and check them out that day. The second thing, if you send us that information, I'm hoping that you're also sending that to law enforcement. We'll get that to law enforcement, and they will continue with that investigation based on that great tip that you've given us.
So the law enforcement, like if we call the city of Montgomery Police or whatever, are they allowed to do what with that tip?
When they get information that there are drugs in a house, then they certainly can pursue that. Okay. No question about it, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
You bet, thanks for the question.
Mr. Eden, quick question, 2 parts. The first is your action committee. So I think I read recently that they are going to double up on the drug dog visits. Do you have ex-drug addicts? Do you have people that actually come and speak at the school at certain times, like during Red Ribbon? So based on the educational forum here, how do you see the school going forward to combat the problem specifically? What are the specific steps? And then the second thing, this may not be the right forum to raise awareness, but just recently, and I don't think it's illegal, but the Monster energy drinks, the Red Bull, I've noticed in just the last year or so, kids having a combination of that with caffeine and it putting them into a full cardiac arrest. 1 year having a heart attack, the next year being dead at UT Arlington because one of the girls in the fraternity or sorority was getting Red Bull as a Red Bull model, delivered cases to the sorority. So it goes beyond the school. Even though that may not be a legal thing, they don't completely understand the effects on children and what's happening with their hearts. So does the school have some sort of educational component to cover that specifically, and 5-hour energy?
You did great, but I'm probably going to need that second question again.
It's the stimulants that are not legal, but the kids are still doing it.
After I answer the first one, that's what
No problem, we have short-term memory loss.
The education of our students, I think we're moving in the right direction. We have done some things this school year and last school year. I mentioned those things earlier. From the area council, we had a speaker come out and discuss drug abuse along with dating violence, both of those things. This spring, just right around the corner, right after spring break, we have a nationally known speaker who's going to have 6 different sessions with our students. He'll meet with our 9th graders, just the 9th graders, and then so forth and so on. The next day he'll go to our junior high and meet with our 7th and 8th grade students. His message is an uplifting message. It's not a scared straight kind of message, if y'all remember those. It's more about goal setting, healthy lifestyles, those kinds of things. Now, we also know this, that those one-time deliveries are not the key. We also have students who go through our health classes, both at the junior high and the high school, and there certainly is drug awareness in those areas as well. April the 1st, I mentioned this earlier, when we are testing with our sophomores, they're taking the ELA, EOC test. On that day, our freshman students will have a speaker, again, healthy lifestyles and the benefits of living healthy versus using drugs. So we're excited about that. In addition to that, we've worked with the Natural High Lifestyles. You can look that up, Natural High Lifestyles. They have promotional messages from entertainers and sports folks from out there in the United States, and we're going to use those also. We're continuing to look for more things to help us with the education part, but hopefully that helps.
It does, thank you so much.
And the second question.
The ones that are not necessarily illegal, but are still putting kids into an atrial fibrillation for like 25 hours. You know, they don't know completely what's happening with the effects of caffeine, Red Bull, those types of things. They're doing a special, I think, on the 27th with the show on TV, The Doctors, but that some kids are actually having to get pacemakers because of those 3 effects with caffeine combined with those things. And that's not illegal, they're just doing it.
Right. Monster drinks, I've never had one, or any of those kind of drinks. We certainly have learned recently as well that the caffeine content is so great that it could cause some of the damage that you're talking about. And I'm just telling you the truth right now, our concern is your concern. We do not have legislation right now or policies that help us police that, but we're going to look into that for sure. Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Thank you so much.
With the increase in drug dogs coming through the schools, will the drug dogs be able to pick up on the synthetic paper or the prescription pills like the Vicodin and the Xanax and stuff? Is that something that they can detect?
Can you repeat that, please?
Okay. Better?
Yeah.
Okay. With the drug dogs coming into the school more, will they be able to detect the synthetic LSD and the prescription pills?
No. Let me stand correctly. The prescription pills, yes. The synthetic, no. Because it's a chemical that our drug dogs are not trained to detect. That's why we have to be vigilant with checking at home and being aware of what our students are doing. Now with the prescription pills, absolutely. InterQuest is trained for tobacco, prescription pills, in addition to all narcotics. I didn't use the mic. Y'all hear me okay up there? Yeah.
To answer your second question, I think was Mr. Eaton was talking about whether they're hashing out this question. You know, we don't sell any of those monster drinks or energy drinks, and we don't allow any outside beverages into the school. So we're trying to keep that out as well.
What we're also doing, utilizing the drug dogs, is that we're taking on drug paraphernalia, pipes, spoons, things of that nature. What we're finding that if you're using this synthetic LSD, you've used marijuana. You've used something else. So we're able to piggyback off of other findings and locate this, or find leads and get information from our students to talk to us and tell us if there's other students possessing this. So we utilize all resources. So just because we come in contact with a student because of drug paraphernalia, we're asking questions.
I'm assuming that you don't know who the dealers are and making this statement. I'm just wondering, is there anything legally prohibiting, whether it be the district attorney's office or the city or the school district, to put up a financial reward for arrest and conviction? Because I know my freshmen would love to make a down payment on a truck. And I'm just wondering, you know, as you guys are running the business side of things, it just seems to me that, you know, there's got to be some waste somewhere in some budget to where if you put aside $5,000 and said, hey, I know y'all are giving the car away if you attend school, which should be a given already, right? So why not give away a car for attending a safe school? So I think everybody here is going to go home and do what we say, but I'm just wondering why we're not taking it to that next level.
Great point. We have married up with Crime Stoppers this year. Throughout our schools, you'll see Crime Stopper posters. Yes, we have the chat line as a tip hotline, but we also have Crime Stoppers. This is the same Crime Stoppers you'll see at a convenience store. The same Crime Stoppers you'll see posting rewards for other criminals that have been involved in other crimes in our community. So if your student is aware of something and they call the Crime Stoppers, and we have available cards in the back with the number on it as well, we encourage you to take one home. Use that information because they have agreed to pay out a reward to any information received leading to an arrest of drugs being trafficked on our campus. So yes, we do have that in place, and I definitely encourage you to take advantage of that. We can get that truck together. Yes. That's timid about giving that information. When you call that anonymous number, your information is not passed on. They're gathering the information regarding the crime, and then you're giving this number. So once that person is arrested for whatever they're carrying, because of that lead you or your child provided, you'll then be given information to go to a bank, give them that PIN number, and then you collect your reward. So again, I definitely encourage you guys to use that information. In addition to that, you can call my line directly and give me information. You can say, hey, this is Brandon Torres and I want to remain anonymous. I have information regarding a student or a parent that may be providing drugs to our students. I will take that information down. I will share it with our administrators. I will not identify who gave me that information, and we will pursue it again until we get to the head of that snake. 911. No, I'm joking. It's on our website. But if you want to take it down now, it's 936-597-3105. 936-597-3105. We are extremely passionate about making this happen. So any information you can pass on to us, we welcome it.
You had mentioned the chemical compounds that are being used for the synthetic LSD is constantly changing. Can you give some examples? Like you had mentioned spraying the roach spray on the marijuana to enhance. Is that the type of thing that's being used on this paper? Is it roach spray? Is it ant dust? Is it, what kind of and like you said, it's always changing, but just some examples.
That's the shortened version of it. 25I is a chemical that was developed in Europe. And during that testing, they discovered that it has symptoms when ingested similar to LSD. It was shared and passed on, and it became a substance that people became popular with and said, hey, you know what, we can sell this. We can dip it and sell it as LSD, but not have the same effects as LSD. So it's a knockoff is what it is. It's a knockoff of LSD, so they won't get caught with the real stuff. And again, they're making it more popular and they're decorating these block papers to attract our youth. That's why you see all these cartoon characters, because it's now appealing. So this substance, again, we say it's constantly evolving, because once we make it illegal, they'll change the chemical compound, and where now it may not be 25I, it may be 25G. So we constantly stay on top of the changes, and once we get that information, we want to put it out to you guys.
Is it also in a liquid form?
Yes, it's found in the liquid form, it's found in the powder form. They're putting it in capsules and also on the block paper.
Okay, we have a couple more questions left, and then we could stay and answer questions later. I know people are beginning to file out, so yes, ma'am.
I have a question for Ms. Chapman. You had mentioned that there was a health class and some other classes in the junior high that the kids could take that discuss drugs and alcohol. But if I remember correctly, those are only elective classes, that the kids don't have to take those. Why are they not mandatory? To be more proactive.
Well, the core classes that we have are, of course, mandatory, and they don't discuss the drugs in those classes. But we are looking into, of course, finding more speakers and doing more as far as grade level presentations and just bringing more to our school in order to bring that awareness. Of course, we have our grade level meetings in the spring and the fall. We bring that to our students. We also have a well-known speaker that is coming in March to talk about drug awareness as well. In the elective classes, that's just been something that they do for some time now, but in the core classes, we're usually tied to our curriculum, and that's not something that's brought up in those classes.
And the state, about 4 years ago, did away with the requirement for health, but our school board and our school district policy requires every student to take health in order to graduate from high school. So students have the opportunity to take it for credit at junior high. If they don't take it in junior high, they have to take it in high school in order to get a diploma. So all kids do go through one semester of health in their secondary curriculum here in Montgomery.
Yeah, that would be more appealing to my 6th grader or my 7th grader than I would think than a high schooler. So I think to be more proactive, why not make that mandatory in junior high? My 6th grader had no interest in signing up for health or any of those classes. They wanted nothing to do with that.
That's a great suggestion, thank you. Yes, sir.
I got a question. I understand that MSI MISD is not allowed the dogs to check backpacks or vehicles. Is that true or not true?
That's not true. We can check vehicles, we can check backpacks, we can't check students. Yes. Yes, sir.
Yes, I would just like to say my experience with
having two boys gone through the high school system, that when they reached high school level, we had concerns and with drugs, the access to drugs. And I have an older sister that had raised 4 girls through school and everything, high school. And I called her, asked her what her suggestions would be. And anybody not familiar with the drug panel test, there's a urine drug panel test that you can order online. Instead of waiting until there's an event with your child, if you use the drug urine test, it gives the kids the out, say if they're out with their peers, they will be more likely to not take the drugs or go along with the crowd or whatever. They'll say, no, my parents drug test me. So it's a proactive thing you can do. I order them online, and randomly the boys know that they can be tested at any time. These tests would pick up the synthetic drugs at some point. I know the kids know that it would not pick up these. But I would like to see a test available, and I'm not that familiar with the drug test, but that was my experience with raising our boys through the school system.
Well, thank you for sharing your experiences. Thank you.
Hi, so this goes right in line with what this gentleman was speaking on right now, and Mr. Ligon and Mr. Torres kind of addressed it earlier. So I run a clinical toxicology laboratory. We do medication monitoring for doctors' offices and clinicians. One thing that he was mentioning is the home test. I have one in the back, a home test. You can pick it up at Walmart for about $10. And Mr. Torres addressed that earlier. One thing you have to all realize is that these home tests, they only test for the federal 5 illegal drugs. They test for PCP, marijuana, opiates, and amphetamines, methamphetamines. So these tests you order online, they're very, very minimal, and they test to a very high level. So if you are worried about your child or them being on drugs, and you're worried about some of the different types of things, the bath salts, the synthetics, the other types of drugs, the prescription drugs that they may be stealing out of a medicine cabinet, the best thing you can do is you can take them to your doctor and have your doctor order a medication test for a large panel. Our lab tests for 64 different drugs. So it includes all different types of things that they might be taking, ADHD medicine, antidepressants, antipsychotics, anything. So if you are worried, take them to a doctor, get a medication monitoring test through your doctor. And just to address what someone else was saying about the synthetics, our scientists are working on tests for these synthetics. As they said, the drug dealers are very creative. They'll add adulterants to all these types of synthetic substances like this one and the synthetic marijuana. So it's very hard for the science to keep up with it. Our scientists, we can test for about 14 different synthetic marijuanas. There's probably thousands out there because of all the different adulterants. So the best thing you can do, is they're all saying, is to stay on top of it with your child, but because it's, like I think Mr. Ligon said, it's just catch up. You're just trying to catch up to the problem. So I mean, at least from a science aspect, we're working on that, but if everybody tries to stay ahead of it, then it's just going to help the whole overall situation.
Thank you.
Just a quick question. I know that somebody addressed earlier about taking drinks in backpacks and y'all don't allow that. Well, that's not, I'm not gonna say that's not true. It's, at the junior high and high school, I have children, both of them, and I know both of them have taken drinks to school. It's per teacher's request. Some teachers allow it, some don't. So my question to you is, and for us parents to know, because I don't want to take away the privileges of good kids that, obviously are not doing anything wrong, but you said there were liquid forms. Can it get through to school by liquid? You know what I'm saying? Like drinks, like sodas or Gatorades or whatever they put in their backpack, the teacher allows them to bring in. Can it be in any of that stuff, or no?
Can they bring in outside drinks? Is that?
They can, or they have been, both of mine, high school and junior high. My question to you is, it's teachers' approval from what I understand. And some teachers allow it and some don't. I don't know if it's something y'all are gonna come harder down on, probably now because I'm saying something about it. And I feel bad for the kids that aren't doing anything wrong, but can it get in that way is my question.
We should not be allowing outside drinks in the classroom. That's a good question. And we'll certainly look into that, but they should not be bringing those into the classroom.
I knew you were going to say that, like you're going to kill me. Anyway, well, I didn't say that, I'm not on record.
I heard you.
Bill, I have a question for you, and I think a lot of parents are kind of curious about this. At least I've been emailed and texted throughout this last week. One is are we going to be able to have random drug tests for the different organizations, whether it's football, basketball, choir, and if that is prohibited financially, is there anything that we can do collectively as a community to help subsidize it by fundraising and so forth? I think that would be a great deterrent if we were to be able to institute something like that. And then my second question is...
Let me start with that one first. I already proved I can't do one. The random drug test that Bev is talking about, the UIL, in our athletic programs, we do random drug checks. We do. I think Mr. Morrison, where are you? He's back there somewhere tonight. I think we've been picked almost every year, correct? For those random drug checks. The UIL, the University Interscholastic League, actually comes on our campus, and again, we randomly bring athletes down and they're drug checked. In terms of the overall drug checking of students in extracurricular programs, we've not had discussions about that.
If it was legal or if it's just a cost prohibited. Because if
Dr. Reese is going to say something about that.
As Mr. Eaton mentioned, we have not had those discussions as a district. I can tell you that it is legal for school districts to test students that are involved in extracurricular activities for drugs. And you can do that, a number of districts do. You could also test students, as we mentioned, extracurricular, but as far as even students who purchase a parking pass and choose to park on campus. You could say that because they're driving as a safety issue in our district, that they can fall under the testing as well. But as he mentioned, we haven't had those discussions as a district, and certainly that's a school board level and district administration level decision as well. And we can certainly look into that, but we have not, and the financial implications have not been studied either.
And then one follow-up question also, which has been sort of circulating around the community, is what happens to the kids when they're caught with a little pot on them? There's like lots of rumors that circulate that all that happened to them was they went to ISS for a week and got a slap on their wrist, and so we're just kind of wondering, like, can we ramp it up a little bit and make the penalty more severe? To where it's not sort of laughed at in the lunchroom about, I got a little ISS, got caught with the little pills on me.
Right. The question is how stringent are the consequences for students who are caught with drugs. They can be expelled from Montgomery High School, depending on what it is, which would mean JJAEP, which is not even on our campus. They could be sent to our DAEP, and a typical drug assignment for somebody is going to be 30 to 45 days in our discipline program. Those are the typical consequences for that. So a few days in ISS would not fit a drug case.
And I just want to close by saying, and I wrote this down because I wanted to remember it, this is just not a bad kid problem anymore. I mean, as a PTO, board girl, and y'all know me up here.
Right.
It's literally breaking my heart what we conceive to be really good kids are being seduced into this awfulness. And you know, you never know which one it is that's gonna have the temptation so strong and that they're not gonna be able to overcome it. So with all of that being said, I'm like really grateful that this school took the opportunity and took the bull by the horn and held this meeting tonight to at least give all of us some idea of what's going on and to ease some of our concerns. And on the PTO, I'm a strong advocate. I blog it. I'm on the newspapers. I occasionally go on a local whatever, but I get deleted in my comments. But my point is this: what happens here from 7:30 to 2:30? I fully expect the school, you know, to be well armed and to do whatever they can. And you are, from all indications that I see. But at the same time, it's at home. These parents have to be engaged. They got to spy, snoop, GPS, whatever you have to do. But if you're not, you know, and not every circumstance is going to come out good, but the parents have got to take ownership for what happens after school and on the weekends. And then, you know, we're just going to entrust you, hopefully during the day, that you continue to implement programs that keep our kids safe while we're here. And thank you for doing this evening.
Yeah, thanks, Bill.
I'll make it quick, I promise. I am new to having teenagers. I have 2 teenage daughters and a 6th grader. And I'm so proud of everybody that's here because that's one step closer to finding solutions for this. I just would like to encourage everyone about the phones. It is so important. You can find out so much stuff from just getting their phones. And my girls, luckily, I've not found anything, but if I don't know the passcode, they don't have a phone. And I also go a step further and I look at their friends' Instagrams, and I look at the Snapchats, and there's little things called Snapchat saves or whatever. You have to dig in. You can't just surface. You have to really dig in and be pushy. Don't be afraid that you're going to make your kid mad, because you may save someone's life. And really pay attention to their self-esteem, because there's a reason why some of these kids are self-medicating. And, you know, just be engaged. And I think you all are doing a great job, and the school district, I'm so proud. So we've been here 8 years, so I'm very happy.
Thank you for your comments.
Don't assume that the cell phone, because it's off, they're not able to text. They can take any disabled phone with no service, get on the Wi-Fi here at school, at McDonald's, and use one of those apps to continue to text. So don't assume, because that phone does not have a service provider or a service, that it's off and they're not able to use it. There's an application that can piggyback off the Wi-Fi.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Before we have our meeting was planned, our superintendent looked at some issues that were taking place and said we need to have this meeting, and you can tell by tonight it was well worth that. So Dr. Reese is the reason we're having this meeting tonight. He got this together.
Every student that we get in contact with that have narcotics in their possession, we're filing charges. We have a zero tolerance here at MISD. All right, well, thank you for the question and answer session. Do we have one more question back there? Okay.
Question about the synthetic materials, the papers. If they're dipped in a chemical, is it possible for them to put that paper, wet it or something, and put it on another student without their knowledge? Is this stuff being transferred by skin or in a drink? Like someone
My understanding how to handle if you find this blotter paper?
Well, or how common is it for these kids to be putting it, say, in a drink or on someone without their knowledge?
This can be absorbed through contact. So if somebody's walking down the hall and slaps somebody on the back of the neck with this blotter paper, can that person absorb it?
Yes.
Absolutely. That's not common though.
Okay.
Again, like Brett Ligon mentioned, it's being stored in foil paper. They don't want it to dry out. They want it to keep its effect. If you ever find something, if you're searching your child's room and you run across something that favors what we showed you tonight, please handle with care. Use gloves. If you find something you're not sure what you're dealing with, give us a call. We'll walk you through it. Again, we're a team player here, so if you have any questions regarding anything you may run across, feel free to give us a call.